came across a drifting ship. I took a look inside. I found a note that someone wrote that said, take her for a ride. I set a course for sights unseen, went out to open sea. To my surprise, a bunch of sailors joined along with me. Now we're sailing on the mystery ship, and all the sailors here are really hip. There isn't any cost of membership. All you gotta do is join our trip. Yeah, I'm the captain of the mystery ship, and I'm a-calling all aboard this ship. I'm really hoping that you'll enjoy it up on the mystery ship. So bring a friend and come along with us aboard the mystery ship.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think we are headed for another cruise. Another cruise upon the mystery ship. Let's just knock down that little bit of waves in the background, shall we? Shall we? Enough is enough. Enough is enough. I want to welcome all of you back to another Friday, a Friday edition of the mystery ship. Sorry we're late, folks. I tried to make Rumble work. I couldn't get Rumble to go. I don't know what the deal is. Been having a little trouble with Pilled Foxhole lately, and that bothers me. Now I have a hot tip from the mats. So if we have some rough waters over there, I think I know what to do. The old wax on, wax off. But hopefully everything goes as it should. As it should, fingers are crossed. But Rumble, I'm still waiting for the stream key over there. I submitted it 25, 5 minutes to 7, and here it is, course. Screw them. Screw them. So tonight we are live at YouTube. We are live at D Live. We are live at Twitch. And we are live at, of course, Pilled Foxhole, the home of free speech in America. Let's start right there and say some hello to some beautiful friends hanging out over there. Let's see what they're doing. Val Hall is with us. Joe Elaine. Good to see the two of you hanging out over there. How's it going? My brother Double D in the house. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I'm so excited. I have it's not my dream keyboard, but it is a working keyboard. I'm trying to fix my other keyboard because I love it. I love it. It lights up, and it's suffering from the Pepsi syndrome. For those of you who remember Saturday Night Live from the mid-'70s, yes, the Pepsi syndrome. Girl Patriot, good to see you, my friend. How is it going? Wonderful to welcome you aboard. Starface 15, what are you doing, my man? How is it going? Ah, yes, we've got a bunch of sailors pouring in over Scorch. Gordy, how the hell are you doing, man? Good to see you, my brother. Good to have you with us. That is freaking awesome. We have got Wage War is with us. Excellent. Prayer Warrior Girl PWG. Thank you, darling, and you know what for. Thank you, my dear. I couldn't take it. Willie Fix It in the house. Willie Fix It in the house. Beautiful. Oh, we've got a wonderful, wonderful group of sailors. Empress Bitch to You comes sneaking in. sliding in around third. Great to see you. Yeah, I know the feeling, buddy. I know what it's like to get up at the crack. Love you too, my man. Good to have you stay as long as you can. Stay as long as you can. Let's see who's hanging out over at the tube, shall we? John Rogers checking in. Good to see you over there, brother. Hope everything is good in your world. Everything in Ohio, you lucky devil. You are right smack dab in totality. Man, you are in for a show, buddy. That is freaking awesome. That is awesome. All right, checking in at Twitch. Matty F and B, my brother, dude, you had me freaking, you had me rolling with your texts today. I showed them around the job site, especially to my fellow roofers. They want to meet you. You're a legend. You're a legend. Good to see you, man. Good to have you aboard. Look at this. The champions, the current reigning champion over at D Live are pouring in, people. Pouring in. Holy smokes. Bad Zoot in the house. Emily is with us. Black Cat 5 is with us. Grand Axel in the house. Hardy Hope is with us. I saw Gloria Paddock come in. Gloria, always a pleasure, my dear. Always. Lynn Winters is with us. Thank you, ladies, for your support of this program. Very much appreciate the ice cream cones and the goodies. How wonderful. I saw T.L. Spud hanging out earlier, chatting with our brother Val Kimber in the house. We have got a wonderful group of Grand Axel. Did I mention you? Willie Fix It. There you are, timing us. You get around, Willie. Willie gets around. He really does. He really, that freaking guy gets around. Anyway, I'm so glad you're here. Seriously, I am so glad you're here. Tonight is going to be a pretty cool little evening. I've got I've got a topic that I think is going to be, different. I was talking with a friend at work, and we were kicking around just some stuff. And while we were talking about it, it just kind of made sense that, damn, that would probably make a great show topic. And so it is. Tonight is mystery ship number 474. Man, we are coming up on episode 500, and 500 is going to be a party. Zoe is going to have his good old fashioned party at episode 500. I promise you. We're going to give away all kinds of good stuff on episode 500. It's going to be a dandy. Now I'm looking for one video in particular that I want to play. It's in here. I know that it is. Son of a gun. There it is. It's been hiding on me. What the hell? All right. I just want to have that waiting in the wings, in case I need it later. It's going to be a good show this evening. We are going to be talking about employers, not just employers, but employees, people that you have worked with, basically jobs, bosses, and employees, fellow employees, and their quirks. There's no shortage of them out there. There's a lot of screwy people out there today. There's a lot of people that and the thing is, what does James Taylor say? Don't you just call? No. Anyway, seriously, tonight is going to be a call-in show on top of my storytelling. Oh, I've got some stories to share with you. And then we're gonna open up the phones, because surely I am not the only one who has experienced the kind of nutters a magnet. I really am. I'm a freaking magnet for nutters. And I don't really, I really don't mind sharing it. We are going to have a lovely evening tonight. Let me share a little video with you, and we'll be back immediately following this. This gives you right here an opportunity to refresh your drink, run and go to the bathroom if you have to. You can take the little dog outside, whatever it is you need to do. This is your opportunity, folks. I'm inviting you. I'm inviting you to do it. Get out there, do what you got to do, because when we come back, we're going to laugh. We are going to laugh. I promise you. It's going to be an evening of levity, and especially with your calls. With your calls. All right. I'll be back. Right. I have the volume on even. Right after this. Right after this. Folks, it is your brother Zoe. I am coming to you from a part of New York which I believe they call the East Village. Now, I don't know a whole lot about the East Village, but there is something I can tell you. As you wander down this street, this is called St. Mark's Place. I am just a little bit south of First Avenue. There's a magical little place right here. Magic? What do you mean, Zoe? What's magic about it? Well, let me tell you. Back in 1975, Led Zeppelin, probably my favorite band, shot the front cover of their monumental album, Physical Graffiti, right here. It was, there was some sleight of hand done, and it's been 48 years. Things have changed. But let me assure you, without question, I've done my research. The picture on the cover of this album was shot basically right where I'm standing, and let me prove it to you. Here's the album. And there is the building. See the faces? See the faces above the doorways? Well, there they are. This is it. This is it. Now, on the album, they had to reduce it to a 3-story building so it would be square. So they chopped the top story off. But that is the album, and that is the actual building. Little piece of history right here in East Village. One other funny little thing about that building. In 1983, 8 years later, the Rolling Stones did an album called Tattoo You, and on it was a very popular song of theirs called I'm Just Waiting on a Friend. If you look at that video, it was also shot right there on that very same doorstep. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards were sitting right there. There must be something magical about this building. Well, I don't know how magical it is, but you know, it is unusual. I'm always poking around. I'm always poking around on YouTube. And I just saw a guy who did an entire video on that building. I guess it's famous. I mean, we made it famous. The Stones did, the Zeppelin did. I've still got that album. Actually, no, I mailed that album to my nephew, but I have a copy of it over in my storage unit, which hopefully will be coming to an end very soon. Yes, in the very near future. The weather is turning favorable, and I'm going to be building finally, I'm going to be building a big old freaking storage unit right here on my property. I can get rid of my storage unit and that monthly payment. Mrs. Zoe can get rid of her storage unit and her monthly payment, and everything will be just groovy among everyone. Do me a favor, I am reading Joe Elaine posts the album right there, Physical Graffiti. That's a great sticker. Where did you get that? I gotta have that. I have to add that to my favorites. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. All right. So at work today, I was messing around with one of my fellow employees, a great dude. And today was, unfortunately for me, my last day with him. He is a fellow superintendent who, for the last 2 months, has been. My company thought he's like 25 years my junior, maybe a little more, but who's counting? He's got a tremendous amount of residential experience. Hasn't done a whole lot of big commercial, but has done some. They wanted to stick him with me for a little while for a couple of reasons. A, he could help me with some of the physical stuff that I'm just too old to do anymore. And B, that he might glean a few pointers off the old man. And I have to say, it was a it was a it was mutually beneficial. Both of us, I think, both of us came away with quite a bit more respect for the other guy than we previously had when we started. I mean, we knew each other, but we never get to spend more than five. Me and my fellow superintendents, other than a monthly meeting, once a month we have a superintendent meeting. We all air our bitches. We talk about how our jobs are going and that kind of thing. But other than that, we never see each other. Other than calling a guy up, hey dude, how much longer are you going to have that forklift? You know, that kind of straight business. So it was great to really kind of get to know this guy. And we were talking about just people, some of the people we had worked with over the years, and some of the employees, some of the fellow employees. Now, we weren't we weren't dissing on our fellow man. Neither one of us. We're just not like that. But it got me thinking. It got me thinking to the different jobs that I had done over the years, and the different employers that I had worked for. And I mean, I have worked for some wonderful, wonderful people. In my life's journey, I have had. Let me stop for just a second and think about this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I believe I am working for my 12th employer right now in my life. I mean, the last 6 have all been construction related. Since I turned 30, pretty much I am dedicated to my current profession, and I mean, that's just never going to change for me. But the earlier part of my life, up until age 30, I held any manner of job. I mean, I did a little of this, I did a little of that, and we're gonna kick it around. My When I was young, in the mid 1970s, 1975 to be exact, 1975, I was living in the San Fernando Valley. And back in those days, there was, smack dab in the valley, there was a place called YES. YES. It was the Youth Employment Service. And employers from all over the valley could call up this place and and put put jobs in for help, and they weren't necessarily looking for full-time help or you know uh, 40-year-olds. This was strictly aimed at like 20 and under people, young people looking for a job. Now, a good friend of mine had a job and a car. He was a year older than me, and I wanted both of those things. I wanted money. I wanted a car. I wanted to live a little. And at 15 years old, I walked into this place and I said, "Hi, I'm looking for a job." And they said, "Well, what do you do? What do you like to do? What do you want to do?" And I said, "All I can tell you is I'm a musician. I'm good with my hands, and I don't know, hammers, that kind of thing. I just take naturally to that. But I'll do anything. I will do anything. I just want to get a paycheck every week. That's what I want. And I don't know if it was divine intervention. I really don't know what exactly prompted the woman to pull out. And back in those days, there were no computers. Okay, there were just those by 3x5 cards. Okay, in a little metal box about this big with a flip lid, and it had A through Z. And she combed through, and she pulls out this card and says, "Here's a card. There's a sign company that is looking for a teenager to help install signs and that kind of thing." So I said, "Give me their number." And I went down there. And I interviewed, and he hired me on the spot. And I have to say, and I've mentioned this numerous times. In 1975, minimum wage was $1.85, $1.85. My buddy with the car and the job at the pizza parlor was making $1.85. I was so excited to tell him that I was starting at $2 an hour. $2. $2 an hour, man. I was living, baby. I was living. And as good fortune smiled on me, I was in the 11th grade at the time, and about to turn 16, about to get my license. Excuse me, what am I saying? I had my license. I wanted a car. That's what I wanted, a freaking car more than anything in the world. I had my driver's license. I went down, interviewed, they hired me, and I started learning all about signs. And this is back in the day of hand painted signs. We were a union sign shop. The place was called Gimbal Signs. I'll never forget it. 7539 Reseda Boulevard, Reseda, California. I don't remember the zip code, but I had so many credits from going to private schools that all through my 11th grade and all through my 12th grade, I only needed to go to school from 8 in the morning till noon. I had, in 2 years, 11th and 12th grade, I would have more than enough credits to graduate from Granada Hills High School. Ridiculously, the classes that I needed to take to graduate had nothing to do with higher learning, because all the private schools that I had been to my whole life didn't have things like health class or shop class. So I was required to take an enormous amount of electives. I had print shop class where we printed the school newspaper. I loved that. I took a drafting class where you learn how to make blueprints. I did have to take Spanish again for like the 5th time. That was ridiculous. But because I got out of school all through 11th grade and all through 12th grade at 12 noon, I walked down to the bus stop. I caught a ride down Reseda Boulevard for 15 cents on the RTD, the Rapid Transit District. Those old 70s buses, I'll never forget them. And, I made signs. And I worked for 2 older gentlemen. They were closing in on retirement. They were, I think, in their early 60s. And I was just a spry young lad of 16, 17. I worked there for 5 years. And they taught me all kinds of stuff. I ended up earning their trust, earning their favor. It's really kind of funny. One was a tiny little guy named Tony, and the other was a great big tall guy named Sherm, kind of like an Abbott and Costello. Seriously, that's what they reminded me of, was Abbott and Costello. And I really loved both these men. They both spent time with me, turning me into a good sign man. I mean, my short little boss, he was the guy that actually made the signs, painted the signs, the background, and we went out and installed them. The big tall guy, he was the one with the artistic qualities. He was the one who did all the lettering and all the. I mean, he showed me everything, pounce patterns, how to how to how to letter, how to. Oh my goodness, he showed me so much stuff. And I'll never forget, probably the greatest compliment I ever got from the guy was people would bring in signs. They would bring in a sign off their building and they'd say, "Hey, I've changed my phone number. Can you guys change this number on this sign and so I can hang it back up with my new phone number?" And the sign would be, 15, 20 years old, and it would be faded by the sun. And I would pick up the sign and I'd look at it and I'd see, well, at one time that might have been a light red, but now it's down to like a rose. And I walked over to this table. We had a table that was covered in color. They were just coffee cans, like dog food cans. And inside was colors of paint that had a skin on them. And I'd grab 5, 6 different colors that I thought were, I knew, for some reason, I just had the ability to look at a sign and say, okay, that needs some yellow, that needs some green, there's some red in it, and maybe a dab of this orange over here. And 10 minutes, in 10 minutes, I could peel the skins off of these things, pour a little of this, like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, pour a little of this paint, a little of that paint in, and in 10 minutes, I had created a perfect match, exactly the same color as the background. And the big guy, Sherm, he came. I remember him coming to me, and I couldn't have been more than 17. He said, "You have a tremendous eye for color." He goes, "I know guys who've been in the business 30 years, can't get close to that. And you do it like it's nothing." I said, "Sherm, I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, I just look at something and I see what fits." And he goes, "I need to teach you how to letter." So one of my biggest regrets was never properly learning how to paint with, the oh, I can't remember the name of the stick. Is it an awl? They used a they used a long round rod with a big rubber ball on it, and they would set the rubber ball against the sign, and that's what they would set their wrist on when they painted with the Mac brushes and stuff. Pretty cool stuff. I loved that job. I really did love that job. But after about 5 years, um, I just had an itch to do something different. They certainly loved me. Um, so, but I needed more money. That's what I wanted. I wanted more money, and they just simply couldn't afford to pay me more money. They were doing the best they could. They were on their way out, and I'm an up and coming young man. So the next place I worked, I got and I continued to work at the sign shop, but I got a second job at night. I worked at a gas station, and I think I shared about this gas station before. It was a Gulf station. Anybody remember Gulf? Are there still Gulf stations out there? Maybe in certain parts of the country. And I worked for this great big heavy-set man with a real deep voice, great big belly, big old beard, no mustache, but a big old beard. And his name was Danny. And Danny ran Danny Davis Gulf at the corner of Reseda and Ventura Boulevard in the heart of Reseda, California. And I'll tell you what, Dan, the man, was a pervert. And I didn't know this at first. I mean, I worked for him for 3, 4 months, and I noticed that every time a girl would come and ask for the keys for the bathroom, he would go in the building. And, I didn't think much of it. I'm out there pumping gas. Those were the days when we cleaned your windows and we checked your oil and we checked your tires. I mean, really, I had a golf, I had a golf shirt on with my name on it. I mean, I thought I was important. I had the keys. I had the keys on one of those little zip, those little. Anyway, anyway, one day, Dan, Dan let me close the place, and I needed something. I think it was a pen. Oh, that's right, my pen, the pen I was using for the credit cards back in the day when you set the little ratchets on the credit card and you put a receipt in there and then you went and you gave the person their credit card back and you had them sign and you kept the carbon and their signature mark. So I needed a pen, and I went into Dan's office, and I noticed on the wall there was signs and calendars. It was a metal building, and one of the signs was strangely crooked, and it had never been crooked before. And I kind of looked at it, and I thought it was strange. So I picked at the corner of it because, hell, I'm a sign guy. And I realized, oh my God, it's a magnetic sign. This is a magnetic sign. So I peel it back, and as I do, I see that behind this magnetic sign, someone has taken a pair of aviation tin snips and has cut a little square hole out of the wall, and this magnetic sign is covering it. So I took the sign off, and I looked through the hole in the wall. And what was I looking at? But I was looking straight at the toilet in the ladies' room. And I just said, oh my God, he's a peeper. He's a creep. This guy's a pervert. I work for a pervert. After that, I went out of my way every time that a girl would come and ask for the keys, and I would see him beeline. I mean, I found something to do in the garage so I could look in the office and see if I was correct. And son of a bitch, there he was. There he was in his office, like this. All I could see was the back of his head, but he's... What a perv. What a freaking perv. That was the introduction for me at a young age. I was probably no more than 18. That was my introduction to the fact that there's some weird people out there. There are some weird people out there. Shortly after that, I left both of those jobs, and I got an entirely new job on the other end of the valley. It was a place called Alno. Now, Alno sold bathroom fixtures. They sold all kinds of bathroom fixtures, from high dollar, mid-range, bottom of the line, French, Alabert, and all of these, back in the day, I built their displays. I worked in the display department, which was separate from the shop. So what would happen is every morning I would stop at the office and I would pick up an envelope, and inside it told me, make these displays for Snyder Diamond and make these displays for this company and these displays. And then when you build the displays, you got to ship them. So for me, it really wasn't tremendously different than what I was doing at the sign company. I mean, we had templates. We had a template that it was a board with a bunch of holes in it. And I would grab a brand new board and I would lay the template over and I would drill the holes as they were drilled out on the template, put the template back, and then I would cover it with velvet. Sometimes it was brown velvet, sometimes it was red velvet, sometimes it was blue velvet. And I would screw these doorknobs and handles and faucet sets. Um, we had these little triangles with two holes, and I'd put the faucet, I'd cover it with velvet and attach it. And I mean, it was so easy for me. I cranked these things out. I built them so quickly that the guy who ran the display department, he couldn't believe it. He's like, dude, you're like 4 times faster than the last guy. And I said, well, I don't know what the last guy was doing, but all I can tell you is to me, this is easy. Well, it wasn't very long, and they got rid of that guy, and they let me run the shop. And now, when you got a long haired, dope smoking hippie running a display shop that's in a different building than the main warehouse, I mean, all those guys did was every day they got trucks in, they loaded the shelves with inventory, and then they would take, give me 2 of these, give me 4 of those. They would ship all the stuff out. But the reason they shipped the stuff out is because a guy like me was sending new displays of our stuff all over the freaking country. And the more displays I cranked out, the more product we sold. So it was good for me. It was good for them. Now, my boss at this place was another unusual fellow, um, reminiscent of my dad, but probably 15 years younger. And he had, much like my dad, um, he had a couple of young sons, just like my dad had. So yeah, I'm probably 10 years older than his kids. And his kids loved me. I played guitar. They were learning how to play guitar. I would bring my Marshall stack down and show them how to play chords and stuff. And I had my entire album collection. I had my I had my stereo, my hi-fi, my turntable, and all my albums set up under my display desk. And all day long, I played all of the greatest music ever made. We'd be cranking Doors and Beatles, and you got to remember now, this is like maybe 1980. So I endeared myself to yet another wonderful company. The owner of that company, his name was Jack. Jack was a bit of an unusual fellow. I very much, as I said, he reminded me of my dad. He wanted things done his way, and that's the way it's going to be. And he would come down to our shop every now and then, just surprise attack. And he'd say, someone is driving the living hell out of my truck. And I looked at our pickup truck, and I mean, yeah, maybe I took turns a little too fast. Well, Jack had people on the lookout for me, and I never did get caught. I never got caught hot riding his truck, but it was a Vision truck. And one day his son was backing the truck into the shop and accidentally ran the rear quarter panel into the wall and put a huge dent in it. And the kid was just scared to death. Absolutely. My dad's going to kill me. My dad is going to kill me. And I said, no, he's not. He's never even going to find out about it. And old Jake, the young boy, the Jack's oldest son, he was studying to get his permit. He didn't even have a driver's license yet. He was working on his permit. And he looks at the dent in this truck, and I said, dude, I got this. And I got some Bondo, and I got some hammers, and I beat the dent out, and I sanded it down, and I bonded it out, and I smoothed it all out, and I primered it. And lo and behold, I borrowed a paint gun from a buddy. I'm in the middle of painting this quarter panel, and it's perfect. You can't tell that anything ever happened. One of the things that I learned while working at the sign company, we had an old Earl Scheib paint booth, which Earl Scheib was a chain of car painting places in Southern California. And I learned how to paint cars. And I used to paint cars on the weekends, $100 a car. which to me was good money. But so painting this truck was nothing for me. And as I'm in the middle of painting it, who shows up but old Jack? Now Jack never came down to the supply house, never to the display department. He never did. But wouldn't you know it, he shows up as I'm putting the final coat on the thing. He walks up to me. He goes, "Al, what are you doing?" And I just looked at him and I said, "Jack, I'm painting your truck." He goes, "Why?" I said, "Well, your son had an accident and he was scared to tell you about it. So I fixed it for him. He paid for every penny of all the materials out of his own pocket. I, I'm painting it as a personal favor to him." And Jack, I think I elevated myself in Jack's eyes a little bit that day. But I think I also brought that father and that son just a little bit closer together after that. Because I said to Jack, I said, the kid's deathly afraid of you. The last thing in the world that he wanted to do was tell you that he did this. And I said, "I can fix it. Don't worry." And he said, "I'll pay for it." And I said, "Jack, think about it, man. Your son paid for every penny of what I'm doing and tried to offer me money for painting it, which I refused to take." And I think I did bring them a little bit closer together. I was very sad to learn years and years and years later that young Jake passed away very early in life. I don't think he made it to 32. Uh, it really, that one really got to me. Really, he was such a promising young man, and such a kid full of life. It really, I don't remember the circumstances. I just know it. I was saddened. I was saddened by it. After that wonderful job, I I decided that, you know, I got to go back to school. I've got to go to college. I've got to do something with my life other than smoke dope and build displays and play in a rock band. So I got a job that allowed me to work during the day and go to school at night. And I was delivering washers, dryers, and refrigerators for a living. I mean, talk about when you were hoisting those old 1970s refrigerators up and down staircases with a refrigerator dolly, um, you got pretty buff. Those were my arm wrestling days. I don't think I knew anybody who could beat me in arm wrestling back in those days. I was in about the best shape in my entire life. At 22, 23, I was I was a specimen. I wasn't a Val Kimber by any chance. No stretch there, but I was in pretty good shape for a kid my age. So I'm delivering washers and dryers and refrigerators for a company based in the San Fernando Valley. They had a satellite store over the hill in Simi Valley. Okay? So they have a store in Northridge and a store in Simi Valley. And I would spend 3 days driving, delivering stuff in the main part of the valley. And then I think it was 2 days a week. I think it's Wednesdays and Saturdays. I would go over the hill to Simi. And the funny thing was, the owner, the owner of the appliance store had divorced his wife. So he owned the big store in Northridge, and she owned the little satellite store out in Simi. So I would drive out there with the big box truck, and I'd load up all the stuff that Annie had sold, and I would deliver it in Simi. And then I'd say, "I'll see you in a couple of days," and go back over to the valley and work there. And this time, the owner of the company that he was a very different individual. Whereas I loved the two men at my first job, Sherm and Tony, and I at least respected Jack at the place called Alno, the display house that where I was building displays. This guy, this guy was a little different. What the hell was his name? Hogan, Mike Hogan. It was called Hogan's Appliance. Hogan's Appliance in Northridge, California, and Simi, California. And old Mike was a very suspicious fellow. And when I say suspicious, this guy, in order when I worked there, there was a 2-week probation period, and I had to, after I made the grade and I showed that I was intelligent enough to deliver washers and dryers, which any monkey could do. I guess what they really wanted to know was that you were strong enough. So it was nothing to me. Then they sent you to a Los Angeles. This guy worked for the police department. He had one of those lie detector machines. And if you made it through the probationary period, Mike Hogan, the owner of this appliance store, sent you to go do a lie detector test. And the guy would ask you questions like, Have you ever stolen from Hogan's Appliance? Looking at this guy like, what the hell? I said, no, I've never stolen anything. And I can't remember. I mean, it was like 45 minutes. It was a good grilling. And when it was all said and done, now I was naive. I was naive back then. I'll admit, I didn't know enough to stand up for my rights or anything like that. I think I was barely 21, something like that. But I remember being aggravated that I was being forced to go take this lie detector test when I've never stolen so much as a candy bar. The nuns beat it into me that if you stole something, you were going to burn in hell. So I mean, seriously, I don't think I've ever stolen it. I mean, I've done a couple of bad things, but I mean, purposely gone in and stolen something, I've never done it. It's just, why? I have a job. I can go buy whatever I want. Stealing just wasn't. Anyway, Mike was a very, very suspicious individual. And because of that, the guys who worked underneath him, the salesmen, every time he would leave, like to go play golf or something, these guys would, man, they gabbed like, the things that they would say. But this was like all the other places I had worked. I was basically alone, I didn't have any partners. I didn't have any sidekicks. I was always by myself. This job was the first time that I was actually around people. I was around people all the time. We had another couple of stores besides the two big ones. We had some satellite stores, and I would sometimes go there, go to a warehouse, swap out an almond washer for an avocado colored one because they had one over on the Balboa store or something. We just wheeled and dealed. That's what we did. And it was crazy. But we had a guy who was a drunk. Okay, it was my first experience being around a guy who had a problem with drinking. And he was probably 30, and he was a pretty nice guy. I mean, he moved a lot of merchandise, so they liked him, but every third day or so, he'd go out on a bender, and then he wouldn't show up to work. He'd miss Thursday, he'd miss Friday, and he'd come back on Monday, and Well, are you back again? I mean, I remember the stories, and this was really my introduction to other employees and getting to know them. It was very different for me. Another thing that was very different for me, and this one, folks, this one threw me for a loop. One day, I got sent over to the See Me store, which was run by the owner's ex-wife. And the owner's ex-wife expressed some interest in your brother Zoe in a way that I was quite unprepared for. And I gotta say, being the shy young lad I was, thank God I didn't. I mean, if I was like a dirty bastard, I might have taken her up on her most generous offer, but I didn't. I was shocked. I was, I was shocked. I didn't know. Oh my! I mean, I went back and I told my drummer. I said, "You're not going to believe this. You know, his divorced wife tried to make a move on me." It was this was an eye-opening experience for your brother Zoe. I I mean, honestly, to this day, I'm almost embarrassed thinking about it. Seriously, weird. It was shocked, I tell you. she, Val, Val Kimber, she wanted to love me long time. I, I did not reciprocate. I was flattered, and believe me, this was this was a freaking good looking woman. But all I could think of was Mr. Mike, who was so suspicious that, he had friends in the police department. And I mean, he'd send five guys after me with baseball bats. That's what I thought. I wasn't going, old homie knows better. Sometimes you just know better. And that was one of those times. Thank you for the discernment. I appreciate it. It was shortly thereafter. It was shortly thereafter that I really wanted a new job. I didn't like the pressure. Every time I drove out to the See Me store, it made me feel funny, and I'm like, man, I gotta get a different job. I gotta get a different job. And I very briefly, for like 2 months, I took a job way the hell out on Sherman Way down in Van Nuys. And there was a place called PM Industrial Supply. And we sold, it was a shop that sold things like drill bits and hacksaws and grinder wheels. And it was an industrial supply. So people who build things, people who worked in auto body shops, people who worked in any manner of work where metal is involved, they would come and buy stuff from us. And the funniest thing was we sold tons of drill bits and saw blades and bandsaw blades and just everything in the world sitting sitting in our front window. In our front window was a metal lathe. Okay, a metal lathe. Now I'm sure you guys know what a wood lathe is. You know, you put like a log in it, and then you take this little metal variety of tools, and you can, make a table lamp out of it, or legs for a bedpost. Well, a metal lathe, if you know what the hell you're doing, you can build damn near anything. I mean, you can make nuts and bolts. You can make it. It's you're the only thing holding you back is your imagination. This metal lathe had sat in the window. They told me for over a year. It had dust on it, and every now and then they would have me go dust it off just so it looked new. and it was like $25,000 for this lathe. And one day the guy goes to lunch, my supervisor goes to lunch, and during the time that he's gone, a man walks in the door and he says, "How much for that lathe right there?" And I looked at him and I said, "Well, I, I think it's 30,000, but I might be able to, I think we're trying to get rid of it. I might be able to give it to you for 25," which I knew was the price. This guy paid full price. He bought it right then and there. And he said he would be back with a pickup truck the next day. And you will never, I wish to God I wish there were cell phones back then, because when, when my boss and the big guy, when they got back from lunch and I told them that I sold the lathe, I wish you could have seen the look on their faces. They couldn't believe it. But it was just one of those things. I only worked there a very, very, very short time, and I knew I needed to make more money. So I was looking in the paper, and I needed references. I needed references. I sure didn't want to use the appliance store as a reference, you know. So I called back around to some of the other companies and I said, "Hey, can I put you down as a reference?" "Sure, Al, no problem." And I called the sign company that I used to work for, and strangely enough, I learned that old Tony and Sherm had retired, and they sold the company to the guy across town who had been their biggest competitor. And I was like, "Well, that's weird," because they always kind of talked bad about that guy. And they ended up selling the business to him. So anyway, I called the guy and I said, "Look, man, I know you don't know me from Adam, but I worked for Tony and Sherm for 5 years, and I'm looking for a job, and I really want to be able to get a good reference. I'm sure the paperwork is somewhere in the file folders of all the stuff you got when you bought Gimbal Signs. Would you mind being a reference?" And he goes, "Are you looking for a job?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I need somebody right now." And I'm like, "Really? What do you pay?" And I think he said something like $7 an hour, which, for 1981, that was okay. It was good. And I took I took the job, and I was working for him for well, in excess of a year. This this was an unusual employer. This man was a Mormon, and nothing against Mormons; they are wonderful people. Uh, I mean, as nice a man, as nice a man as you ever really would hope to work for. Did he treat you right? Yeah, he treated people. He treated people fairly well, but he was an absolutely a terrible businessman. And when I say terrible, I mean abysmal. Okay, I don't know what he did with his money. I really don't, because we built a lot of big signs. I put up a lot of signs for this man. He showed me the one thing that we never did at Gimbal Signs when I worked for at my first career in sign. We did real estate signs. We did a lot of silk screening. We did wood signs. We painted cars and trucks. We hand lettered. We did gold leaf. We did the regular kind of signs that you see on buildings and glass windows and that kind of thing. We didn't do any electric signs. This guy built big electric signs, gigantic ones, and he taught me how to do the whole thing. I mean, we'd have a guy come and bore the earth, and we'd sink a giant pole in the ground. We had a giant crane, and we would weld. He taught me how to weld. He taught me how to rivet. He taught me how to bend metal, sheeting, and I was great at making sign faces and all that, and gluing and all the the lettering and all that. I would cut out plexiglass on a bandsaw and then put gold rim around it and glue the letters down. And I had another guy who was impressed with my hand-to-eye coordination, and I really liked the guy. But every single Friday. What do you mean streamers offline? Okay, well, that's freaked me out. Did you guys have the spinning wheel of death for a second? That was weird. That was weird. Are we still live everywhere? Okay, we're still live everywhere. Good. That freaked me out, man. Every single Friday, when I would get my paycheck, I'd go down to the bank, and they'd say, "I'm sorry, this check's no good." I would have to go back to work and say, "Hey, boss, they won't cash your check. They won't cash your check at the bank." Wait a minute. Let me make a phone call. And so I found out what was happening. And so one of his elders in his church ran the bank that this guy did his banking at. And honestly, I mean, to this day, I don't know what kind of money problems he had, if his house was in arrears. I don't know anything about his. I just thought he was a halfway decent guy. He treated me decently. But man, one thing a guy depends on is his freaking paycheck. And every freaking week, my damn paycheck, he would have to call the president of the bank. I'd have to wait for 15 minutes while they did some mumbo jumbo. Sometimes my boss had to drive down to the bank, and they'd go in the back room and shut the door for 10 minutes. And the next thing you know, the guy would come out and hand the check to the cashier and say, go ahead and cash this for me. It's okay. I mean, we're talking a measly pittance, okay? We're not talking $1,000 checks there in the 70s. We're talking, probably less than a couple $100. And this poor guy couldn't cover the payroll. Well, a strange thing happened one day. And, at the time, I think I was 22, 23. Well, I can tell you, it was 1983. It was 1983. And I did what I always did at lunchtime. I went out to my car, my El Camino, and I rolled a doobie. I drove around the corner. I got stoned because I didn't have any money to buy lunch. So I got stoned. And I went back after lunch, feeling no pain. And I'm running plastic through the table saw because we were making this big, giant metal sign that had all of these little signs that punched into it. It was for the corner of a strip mall. And I went to grab the last piece of plastic, and I went to run it through, and I looked on the table saw, and I saw blood all over the saw. Oh, shit. And I mean, the very first thing, being a guitar player, the very first thing I did was I looked at my left hand because that's my fingering hand. And I breathed this huge sigh of relief and went, oh, thank God. But then I looked at my right hand and I saw that I had chopped my finger clean off. And, I'm stoned. So I'm kind of taking it in stride a little bit. And I'll tell you exactly what I did. For about the first 3 or 4 minutes, I grabbed a rag. And I just kind of put the rag over my finger like this. So I'm walking around like this, and I'm looking for the tip of my finger. And I can't find it. And I'm looking everywhere. I looked inside the saw, I looked under the saw, and I was a little disappointed. I was like, it's got to be here somewhere. So finally I said, screw it. So I go in and I said, hey, boss, boss, and he sees me with my hand like this, and he goes, oh, don't tell me you chopped a finger off. I said, okay, I won't tell you then, but yeah, I did. And he's, oh my God. So he is absolutely beside himself. He is freaking out. Like, I'm all calm, cool, and collected, and he's just coming apart at the seams. Get in my Bronco. So we jump in his Bronco, and his Bronco won't start. That's the way this guy's life was. His Bronco wouldn't start. He gets out of the car. He goes, oh, get my dad's 1940 Chevy over there. Let's get in that. So we get in this old, 6-volt 1940 Chevy, which was actually in really nice shape, but just sat for months and months and months. We got in that, and it wouldn't start. So, I'm like, geez, am I going to have to take a taxi to the freaking hospital? So finally he says, we'll take the crane truck. So oddly enough, I had the table saw sitting right here, and directly ahead of me was a man door where you would walk in and out of the building. And outside beyond that, that's where the crane truck was parked in a field. And I go to get in the passenger side of the crane truck, and I look down on the running board on the passenger side, and it's an absolutely straight shot from the table saw through the door out to the running board. Here is the tip of my finger sitting on the running board of the crane truck. And I said, well, would you look at that? Son of a gun, there's my piece of my finger. And I pick it up and I showed it to him. Oh my God, this guy went as white as a ghost. I mean, it freaked him. At this point, I'm kind of enjoying it. Okay, I'm blowing this poor guy's mind. I'll never forget this day because I called my dad, and my dad came down to the hospital, and we were waiting. We were waiting for the hand specialist because at the local hospital, the emergency room didn't have anybody who was a hand specialist, so they called one. And he was like 45 minutes away, but he was on the way. So my dad shows up, and the first thing he saw, the very first thing my dad saw, was my Zeppelin tattoo. I had hid it all these years. He never knew I had a tattoo, and I said, "Hey, Dad, you got a Pall Mall?" So my dad and I are sharing cigarettes, and he looks over and he goes, "So, you got a tattoo, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "You got any others?" I said, "No, Dad, just the one." He goes, "Keep it that way, would you?" So my dad was, any other time, my dad would have killed me if he found out that I had a tattoo. God forbid he ever found out I had an earring in my ear. But, I mean, it was, for God's sakes, you just didn't do that shit back then. As it turns out, the guy who owned the sign company, even though he made it look good, every week when I got my paycheck and I got my stub and I peeled it off, it said that there was FICA taken out. It said that there was state disability insurance, SDI, taken out. And, it showed the local, taxes and everything. Well, he made it look like he was taking out state disability insurance, but he didn't have a workman's compensation plan. He was uninsured. So when I start getting the bills for my finger, I quit working for him, because when I found out that he had been bullshitting me and he was taking money out of my check that, I mean, he probably should have given it to me, but bottom line is, I decided I really should part company with this guy. And I got a lawyer, and I had to sue him because the hospitals were coming after me for lots and lots and lots of money for the surgery on my hand, and it was ugly. I mean, the lawyer that I contacted said, "Son, you just got yourself a sign business." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You're going to own this man. You own this man." I said, "Dude, I don't want a sign company. What are you talking about? I'm going to be in the next Led Zeppelin." The lawyer looks at me. He says, "I don't think you understand. This man broke the law. You have him dead to rights. You can take everything he has from him." And I'm like, "Why would I want that?" You're young, you're naive, you don't know anything about anything in life. I mean, I don't know what I would have done if the lawyer had convinced me to sue the man for everything he owned. The lawyer promised me I would have won, but I'm like, what? Why would I take everything from this poor guy who can barely make ends meet as it is? He's got a wife, he's got kids, it's his only source of income. Why would I take that away from this poor guy? You know, I just, I didn't, I just walked away. And that's right when I got the opportunity to go to work at Entertainment Tonight. It's just a strange turn. I swear, I swear, God God looked after me. He really did. It as luck would have it, from 20 to 30 were all during the 80s were some of the greatest years of my life. I had the greatest job a young man could ever hope for. I was rubbing elbows with movie stars and celebrity. I mean, right now I couldn't care less about that stuff. But when you're an impressionable 20-year-old kid and you're not awakened yet, uh, I thought I was living the high life, meeting Led Zeppelin, meeting freaking Van Halen. I mean, it was like a dream come true. So I don't know. I've had I've really had some interesting employers over the time, and my fellow employees, I could tell you stories about some of my fellow employees that would have you laughing, rolling on the ground, wetting your pants in laughter. For instance, I mean, who do I want to make fun of first? At that sign company where the guy who owned the company, where when my finger got cut off, I wasn't his only employee, but I was his only full-time employee. He would hire these other guys from time to time. And there was a lettering guy who came around, and there was this other guy who was actually really good at welding and that kind of stuff. But the guy was a hardcore drinker, and he would drink on the job. And oh man, I mean, this guy had bottles of booze hidden under every corner of I would walk around the corner and I would lift the lid of this old metal can that we threw the rags in, and I'm about to throw the rag in, and I look, and there's a bottle of just rot gut booze. I mean, not any kind of name brand. I mean, the bottom of the barrel, just, oh god, the stuff that tastes so rancid. What was that crap? What was that crap? You guys got to remember that cheap ass wine, MD 2020. He would drink stuff like MD 2020, Mad Dog 2020, or Boone's Farm. I mean, the fellow employees that I worked with some wonderful, wonderful people, and I worked with some screwballs. I worked with some screwballs like you couldn't ever imagine. People with, oh my God, people with phobias, people with, I'm telling you, Hollywood is filled with, what's the old expression? California is like a breakfast cereal. If you take away all the flakes and nuts, the only thing left is the fruits or something. That is so true. No, you take away all the fruits and nuts. The only thing left is the flakes. Yeah, that's it. Uh, it was a very for life for me with my employer and my fellow employees from 15 to 30. I could write a book. I could really write. I mean, I left out so much stuff that I could tell you, but the truth is, I really want to. I want to take calls from you guys. I want to know, did you ever have a nutty employer? Did you ever have an employer that screwed you over? Did you ever have an employer that I don't know, you ladies out there, you ever have one of those perverted employers that maybe tried to put the move on you? Did that happen to any of you ladies out there? Um, there's some weird people in this world, and slowly but surely, I mean, I got exposed to them. Where does the time in this freaking show go? Have I really been rambling on for that long? All right, we're gonna have a short break, just a very very short break. We're gonna come back. I'm gonna open the phones. I want to know about your working life growing up. I want to know about the employers you worked for. I want to know about the employees that you worked with. Did you, any memorable stories about the people that you once worked with? Anything you can dare tell on the air? Because your brother Zoe is all ears. I'm absolutely all ears. We'll be back. We'll be back following this little video right here. Right here. Whoop. You know what works so much better? You know what works so much better is when you turn the volume on. That really, it does amazing things. It's most impressive. Why do we sail upon the mystery ship? 'Cause we never know where we'll go next. And this is where I take a moment to thank the beautiful people who watch this program. I freaking love you, people. Thanks for hanging out with me again this evening. It's always a pleasure to look out and see the same faces, the same stories, the laughs, the people making fun, the comments. I've enjoyed the comments tonight. I've been trying to keep an eye on them. Some of you guys are pretty darn funny. You're pretty funny out there. But no, I don't think I should have slept with my boss's wife. No, I don't think that would have been a good idea. I saw you. I saw your comment. I saw your comment. Okay, so anyway, have you ever had an unusual thing happen to you at work? Have you ever had a wacko boss? Just a complete nutter? What the hell is my phone number? What the hell is my phone number? 3766-535. Yes, I want to know if you've ever had a nutter in your life. Have you had a nutter in your life? Did you work for a wacky employer? Someone who wait, where's my video capture? Where's my video capture? I just put it up there. Oh, for crying out loud. For crying out loud. There it is. Let's do it right. There it is. One more time with feeling. There's the phone number. Okay. Is the phone on? No, you dummy. It might help if you turn the damn phone on. Okay. That always helps. Dummy. I want to know. Your brother Zoe wants to know. Did you work with some wackos? Did anyone at work ever proposition you? Did you ever find out that maybe your boss was a pervert? Have you been through anything even remotely like what I have been through in my life? I don't want to know if you've cut any toes or fingers off, but no, I want to know if you've had employers or fellow employees that you kind of had to keep an eye on because you didn't know what was going to happen next. Because I have worked with some employees like that. The guy I told you who owned the sign company, he would hire some very strange people. I think he thought in his heart of hearts that he was actually doing them a favor by employing them, but he would hire like homeless people, and these people were doing some weird things. I mean, really weird things, and one thing my dad instilled in me was never ever to be a tattletale. He said, Albert, no matter what goes on, you let a guy cook his own goose. You don't need to go rat somebody out. God will take care of that. You just keep your mouth shut. You don't need to elaborate on anything. And I don't know. I always kept that under my vest. I never saw the need. I never saw the need to rat people out to make myself look better. If I didn't move up on my own accomplishments, then I just don't think I don't think I would have deserved it. And just about every place I've ever worked, somehow, some way, I worked myself up through the ranks. I don't know if I endeared myself to people or what, but it just always came naturally. I kind of think in a strange way that the man upstairs has always been kind of looking after me, whether I knew it or not. Well, we have got a fine gentleman on the phone. He goes by the name of Due Diligence, and I'll bet something tells me he's got a story to tell. Double
I got
D.
2, actually.
You ever had any kind of strange things happen to you at work, buddy?
Yeah. Before I joined the Marine Corps, I was working at a place called Lumbermen's of Redmond. Me and a couple of the other guys, we'd play jokes on each other every single day. Well, the break room, which is also the locker room, just there, keep your gear there. One of the guys one day decided to use, an expanding foam to seal my locker shut. And he did that the night before, so it was nice and solid by the time I got to work the next day. And I walk into the break room / the locker room, and the boss has a kitchen knife just trying to clear all that out, and looks around and sees me walk in and says, "I'm so sorry this happened to you." And I looked at him and straight out said, "I wish I would have thought about that first. Shit, that's great." The look on his face was absolutely priceless after he heard that one. He was just, the jaw hit the floor, the eyes bugged out like a freaking cartoon character, and it was absolutely hilarious.
Oh, dude, I mean, I worked with some practical jokers. I've seen some pretty good scams pulled on other people. That's actually kind of fun. It can make the job be more, it takes the edge off the boring day in, day out of it all, That, that actually sounds pretty fun.
And the second one, this is when I was a bit younger, so I was like 15, 16 years old, working at a QFC.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sitting there bagging groceries for these people one day. And this old lady, I don't know what it was about her. I'm not going to say it was anything other than she just didn't like people. But she purposely dropped a can of peas that this particular customer was buying. So I reached down behind and went to go pick it up. The customer heard this noise coming out of the rear end of this old lady, right in my face. And the customer what's on the customer's face was like, "Oh my Lord, I am so sorry that just happened." Finished bagging everything up, and took her groceries out to the car and everything else like that. And it was just like, as soon as we got out of the door, the lady said straight out, "I am so sorry that happened to you," because old Dolores there, she just let one rip right in my face. And it was bad. It stunk, and I never went back to that lady's freaking check stand again. Oh, that's what you call good people, and then you got bad people.
Man,
I've had.
Dude, I just drop a can of peas.
Blast right in the face. Yeah, what a nice person, huh?
Oh my God! Yeah, dude, I have been seeing some, those. I don't know why they're targeting me, but every time I go to YouTube now, there's these recommendations for you, those YouTube shorts, those little 5 and 7 second videos, and dude, it was only like last week that I realized that if you put your finger on it, there's 3 little dots, and you can say, "I'm not interested." I only recently learned that because, sometimes you flick through, and there are some genuinely funny ones. There's a lot of them at drive-throughs, and people pulling stunts on others, and oh my God, it's unbelievable. The pranks. One of the funniest things I saw was there's a set of twins. There's a set of twin brothers, and one of their favorite pranks is they've got twin cars, okay, and they go through a drive-through, and they order something that's really, really strange, like, give me a bacon cheeseburger, hold the bacon, and I want extra relish on it or something like that, and then he goes up and he pays for it, and then his brother pulls up right behind him and asks for the exact same thing. And the guy in the window looks at like, hey, wait a minute. I, I just gave you your food. And the guy's like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. I asked for a hamburger with no bacon and extra. And the guy's like losing his freaking. I mean, some of these are pretty creative. They're pretty ingenious, actually. You know, it's some pretty funny stuff. There's some good stuff out there, but yeah, I'll bet everybody's got a story or two to tell about some nutters that they have worked with. You know.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, this is like the first one I told you about, or no, the first story I had, that was the second one that came into my mind. The second story I told you about was the first one that came into my mind.
No.
And I was like, that was weird. So,
Well,
I think both of those situations helped me prepare myself for Marine Corps boot camp.
yeah, I'll bet you probably enjoyed it as compared to.
Oh yeah. Marine
Man.
Corps boot camp. Oh yeah, I absolutely loved it.
No, that's awesome. Well,
All right.
brother, I
What are you
always appreciate your phone calls, man. Thanks for lighting up the mystery ship tonight.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. And don't forget this one particular sound.
Love you, my friend. Talk to
All
you.
right, talk to you later.
Talk to you soon. Yes. You know, yeah. It's funny. I should have queued up a couple of those. Those two twins and their stunts. They have they do more than just the drive-through thing. They have a stunt where they pretend like they're moving a mirror. Okay, they pretend like they're moving a mirror into a building, and they act like it's too heavy and they need help. So they will ask a person walking down the street, "Hey, can you help us?" And I mean, they must have practiced this. They must have practiced this at home 1,000 times. So a guy thinks he's looking at a mirror, and he walks up to help, and then he walks around the other side and sees the other guy. And meanwhile, you know, if one brother raises his left hand, the other brother raises his right hand. So it looks like they're in a mirror. I should have just called some of these things up. These guys are they're very, very clever with their stunts. It's some of them are just wet your pants funny. Wet your freaking pants funny. We've got our brother T.L. Spud on the line. Spudley always has a good story or two. How we doing, Spud?
So good, so.
Awesome.
I want to get right to the meat. I worked for a guy whose favorite song on the planet was Crystal Blue Persuasion.
I remember it well.
He would play this motherfucker. He would play this song to a point where I hate it.
For the rest of your life.
To an extent today I cannot explain.
I'll make a note of that, Bud. I will never play that one.
No, you can play it. I mean, you know, actually, I haven't heard it in so long. It actually might be, Crystal Blue
Persuasion.
Oh my god.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine someone whose favorite song in the world?
And he,
Extrapolate that out. Extrapolate that out to the kind of person you're working for. So.
and the guy played it to death.
This is one of because I actually had multiple jobs. I was also working at Cal State Fulton at the time, but I was my main gig is this was a magnetics company and it sold magnetic media or whatever.
Mm.
And I had fallen in. It was a family friend. I was running the outbound warehouse operations of this guy's warehouse during 9/11.
Wow.
Dude, he was so freaked out. I showed up for work. He sent us all home. And he spent, it really affected him so much. He was so paranoid. He really thought that we were all going to, and this was for months.
Oh, that's
months and months and months. It really, those kind of things really affect someone.
I mean, dude, there are some people who just, they're not wrapped that tight, you know? Yeah.
Well, and, he's a very successful guy, but neurotic. Very neurotic.
Yes.
Very neurotic. And then the other one, I mean, dude, I don't, I just want to get a couple in here and let somebody else in. But I work with a guy. I worked with a guy. In fact, I ended up being business partners in a way, in an ownership way, with a guy who wore not incontinence diapers, but adult-sized baby-style diapers as a fetish, and wore them all the time. And sometimes would use them and have to change himself in the middle of the workday.
Oh, my God. Are you freaking kidding me? How did you find out?
Well, he was actually pretty open about it.
Really?
Yeah, no, he was a pervert. You're talking about pervert.
Yeah,
he was a fucking pervert.
Dude, I mean,
this is computers. So this guy is like a guy that has spent his life on Usenet. You know what the Usenet is? This is a guy who is a computer nerd and just, he's Caucasian, but he probably should be Japanese. You know what I mean?
Right.
But anyway, and he just ends up being a giant piece of shit in general. But yes, no, that's that's about as crazy as I can get.
Oh man, yeah, dude, I'm telling you, I could never look at my boss the same way after that. Prior to that, for 3 months, I just thought he was, kind of a, I don't know, kind of a different guy, but I thought he was okay, but once I knew, that every time a girl went in that poor bathroom, this guy had to go play peekaboo, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, and, that's kind of one of those things, it's like in entertainment, kind of one of those unspoken things, although I guess it's more spoken, is that for me, one of the things that really held me back is that I was not willing to suck anybody's dick. And that in entertainment, at the time we're talking about, that was a huge deciding factor in a lot of things. And I guess it still is today. But, I there's a lot of that, dude. I will bog it down with dark stories. Creepy-ass fucking dudes out there and women.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, old women doing creepy-ass things or into creepy-ass shit. And, I learned early how messed up and nasty things are in that town.
It's funny that you say that. I mean, Joe Elaine over on Foxhole said, Zoe, as when I was working my way up in the company, in business, as a young woman, there were women who slept their way to the top. And she, Joe Elaine's got integrity. She's got class. She's not like that. And but she says, I know women who had slept their way to the top and pulled the old Kamala Harris trick, I mean, there are...
it happens. Dude, it happens in modern business. I've seen it extremely recently. It happens, on all kinds of levels all the time. But it's like a power in entertainment, though. It's more like,
oh my God, yeah.
Will you submit to? Will you be a bitch? And it's like, no, I'm not. And then so it's hard. You can't. Talent, you quickly see it's like, well, talent really doesn't mean anything because, some of the least talented people I personally know.
Yeah.
Of the people I know that are like famous people.
Dude.
I went to school with people that are famous. I'm not going to name drop, but they're very famous, like household name people.
And they're nobodies, right? I mean, they
actors. So the least talented people I knew, but they were willing to smoke cock. Did I say that, Dice? I don't mean to say this is a family show.
It's a Friday night mystery ship. So anything goes. Todd, when I last lived in L.A. in 2010, I worked with a guy. The guy worked for me part time. He was my next door neighbor in the apartment complex that I worked with, and he and one of his former girlfriends, they were just amicably friends at that point. But a couple of really, really nice people. This dude had that look, that really long hair and a beard, probably 50, 45-ish, He was one of those actors that never speaks a line. He's just, in the background, whatever you call it, seat fillers or whatever they call them. And
background.
Background guys.
Oh, background. Yeah. I worked background for years.
Yeah, no spoken lines, but they could make 400, 500, 600, 700 a day, depending on what he did. Because of his look, he was on Pirates of the Caribbean. He was on all, and I said, I asked him straight up. I go, dude, you're all around it. I see pictures of you with freaking. Who's the guy? Jack Sparrow. Who was the actor? I don't know any actors' names. Who's the main guy in the Disney series? The whole. He just divorced his.
The guy that was married to Amber Heard.
Yeah, that guy. that dude. Okay, so I mean, this guy's got pictures of him with him and all that, and I said, dude, aren't you ever gonna? I said,
I love it that you can't.
What's his name? What's his freaking name?
I can't. I don't know. You hypnotized me into not knowing either.
He's somebody fucking Johnny Depp. Thank you, Mrs. Spud.
Johnny Depp.
There it is. A bad suit.
The household name.
Yeah, okay.
How do we not? There's no Johnny Depp because we don't give a fuck.
I don't give a flying fuck. So you nailed it.
I don't care.
I couldn't care less about.
I look at him and I look at his eyes and I go, man, that guy does not look happy. That guy looks hollow. That guy looks like he is not. He is trapped inside a meat suit.
Yeah, I said to my buddy, because when there would be days where he didn't have any commercials to work on or movies to work on, and I say, hey, dude, I could use a hand for a couple days. Come turn screws with me. I'm building a deck. I could use it. So, I mean, we became friends. We're still friends to this day, in fact. And I'll text him every blue moon, Merry Christmas, that kind of thing. And I go, dude, how come you never get any spoken lines? Spud, he said the exact same freaking thing you just said. He goes, dude, I don't suck cock. I'm just like, oh, my. He's just so matter of fact and so blatant about it. He goes, look, I'm happy to do. I make a decent living doing background stuff. He goes, I have no interest in furthering my career. I'm just like,
no. I mean, I had that for a couple of years. I had that when me and Mrs. were first married. I had that cop Secret Service agent look down. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
I was just booked. The business was great, dude. I mean, it was great because I just had the look, so I knew what you're talking about.
I can see you with mirror shades on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the suit, and the short hair. Not like my hair is now, obviously, but clean shaven.
You damn hippie.
High and tight. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. The cop look. I worked as a lot of cops, dude. Yeah, dude, a lot of cops.
Wow.
There's an era where if you see a cop, it's like a 1 in 16 chance it's me. I swear to God, I played so many cops.
Wow.
It was like that's what I did. You you have a look, and then you get into that, and that's what they do.
And dude, I mean, that's what my buddy had. He had that kind of he could do bikers, he could do hippies, he could do the pirate thing, he just, if you got that little niche.
Cop, I could do fireman, I could do, like Army lieutenant, I could do, a veterinarian, I did like doctor, I did a couple of ER episodes.
But you're gonna have to share some pictures one night, man.
I don't have pictures of me doing. You can't take pictures doing background, and I don't watch any of those.
You don't want anybody.
I've never seen I did the whole. I'm like a regular people tell me, and still to this day, they see me in the last season of West Wing as a Secret Service agent, and they go, "I just saw you. Yeah, I just saw that scene with you." And I have, to this day, I have never seen it. I have
my
no
God.
idea what they're talking about. But there is the one scene I have seen that people always is in My Wife and Kids. There's a scene where I'm sitting at a Lakers game right next to Damon Wayans, and I'm wearing a suit, and they told me, and this is one of those great stories, they told me this suit, it was like, they said, this suit is worth $32,000.
Holy.
It's worth more than your life.
Oh,
They told me that. They fucking told me that. And it's a scene where Damon Wayans gets LeBron James sick. It's a famous episode of it, and I'm the tall guy with the short hair sitting right next to him.
Oh,
I'm
my
shoulder
God.
to shoulder with.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's that scene. That's one of the very few the background scenes I've seen, because it was like
Wow.
featured.
Yeah.
Bumps for that.
But hey, man, it paid the bills, you know?
Oh, it kind of paid the bills, because I was living in Yorba Linda. So I was working, dude. I was doing everything. Because I was also at that time. I was also managing coffee shops, and just trying to work that out. Where you're trying to schedule yourself and take weekends to run coffee, to do, run retail and stuff like that. Just kind of working it. It was a crazy time. Coming off of a totally different time in my life.
Wow.
But let's not get into that. I love you, Zoso. It's great calling in. Great talking to you.
Always good to talk to you, Spudley. Thanks for the call, my friend. Thanks
love
for
you,
the
friends
call.
out there.
Take care. That's really cool. I would absolutely love to be watching a movie and see Spud in the background. I'm gonna look for that movie. What he said, Damon Wayans, and at a Laker game. I'm gonna look this up. Damon Wayans and who? Was this some famous guy? Was it a ball player? God dang it. I'm going to have to watch the show. I'm just going to have to back the show up and watch it again. That's the good thing about reruns. You never run out of interesting content. I got to tell you, I was so excited about my show the other night, Wednesday night. I mean, seriously, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday during the day, I gathered so much information, and I was so nervous during that show. I looked at my emails. I didn't even share 2/3 of the information that I actually garnered to share with you that night. I was just uptight. I don't know what the deal was. I wanted it to be such a good show. Why, welcome aboard the mystery ship. Who do I have on the line? Hello.
Hey, sweetie.
We've got you. We've got you on the mystery ship.
This is the girl.
It's who? Just a girl? Well, how fantastic is that? How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing beautiful.
Awesomeness. Well, thank you for calling. Tell me, have you got you got any wild stories about working with wackos or bosses or maybe fellow employees who are just maybe a couple of sandwiches shy of a picnic?
Yeah. I have many stories. I was a project manager at Chrysler headquarters.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Most impressive.
I guess I wanted to call in to let the younger people know that you don't need to go to college.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 year. But, I mean, I literally bullshitted my way all the way to the top.
Into a fantastic position.
Yes. And I never slept with one person to get it.
If you've got the gift of gab and you have confidence, that is everything in the world.
Well, and that's
self-confidence.
the thing, though, too. You also have to have people skills, which most younger people don't have.
That's very, very true.
Which is, I think that is the main thing. If you can bullshit your way through an interview, and you have to have confidence in your mind. It has to come through you, like it has to, like you have to radiate. Like I know I'm going to get this job.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get it. And every single time that I've went on an interview with, I worked for Porsche. I worked for Chrysler.
Wow.
I worked for General Dynamics.
No kidding.
General Dynamics was the best job I ever had, but I'll explain later.
Mm-hmm.
I got like 4 outstanding achievement awards from that company. But the thing is, if you don't have people skills, you are not going to succeed in any job ever.
You're right. It's true.
And it has nothing to do with college, because my resume, I have a college degree, but it's only 4 years. But I put on my resume that I had a master's.
There you go.
And none of them checked. They didn't even check.
No, it's all right there in the interview. Either you wow them or you don't.
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to get across.
Yeah.
If you go in an interview and you, in your mind, you have to gear yourself up to be like, I'm the shit.
Let me share a quick. I don't want to interrupt you. I want you to finish your. But I want to share just a quick aside. My younger brother is a year and a half younger than me. Years ago, before he became a bartender, he was working at a bank, and he told me when he went to do the interview, he waited there while they interviewed 4 other people before him, and then finally he got his chance. And he went into the woman who's in charge, and he did his interview, and he went to get up and leave, and he sat back down and he looked at her and he said, "Can I talk to you for a second?" And she turns back around. She goes, "Yes." He goes, "Look, you could spend the whole rest of your day interviewing the bunch of people." And he goes, I've had a look at the people you're about to talk to. He goes, "I'm just going to tell you, I am head and shoulders above every one of those. If you are looking for an energetic go-getter, someone who is honest, I'm not going to steal a penny, I will be the best employee you ever hired if you just give me this shot." And she hired him on the spot, dismissed everybody else, and said,
Yep.
"Never mind, I've got who I want." And it's exactly what you're saying. If you go in like you've got you're holding a freaking full house, when the fact is you got 2s and 3s and maybe a pair of 7s, they can't help but admire you. And it sounds.
Okay, hey, wait a minute here. Check it out. Syllabore to say lying on a resume is criminal and waste company's time. No, it's not. It's not criminal. And the people, I'm going to keep going back to the same thing.
Oh my goodness!
If you don't have people skills, you're not going to get the job.
That's a fact, Jack.
You know, someone that's sitting in their basement playing video games all day and doesn't talk to people and interact and have the schmooze, you're not going to get it.
They're going to be living on mom's couch at 40.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but
No.
it's like, I was like a size 5. I wore those stilettos and the suit. Black suit, black skirt, blazer, white shirt. Very simple, to the point.
You looked the part and acted the part.
You have to look classy when you're going for a corporate job.
Oh, man.
You can't walk in there with freaking piercings in your nose. You're not going to get the job.
Oh my God, this is like my favorite call in forever. I so echo your sentiments, my dear. I swear to God. I swear to God. I look at the kids with the one that drives me crazy is the new nose ring. You know, it's like a
Oh
horseshoe, and
yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah.
I see these otherwise fairly pretty young girls, and I want to say to them, do you really think that adds to your appeal?
I
Because I'm
know,
telling you,
right?
you look like a cow. I mean,
Right, exactly. And everyone I can't get a job. No one will hire me. Well, you have to look the part to get the job.
oh my,
You you can't. I mean, when I was at work, I would dress one way, but when I was not at work, then I could dress how I want.
exactly, exactly.
But you can't expect to, your everyday attire go to work.
Hmm.
You can't do that.
I'm just a little curious because I mean, obviously you were in the big leagues. Did you ever have to turn down the advances of some high-ranking players up
Oh
there?
yeah,
Just kind of
many times.
shut them down in a very polite fashion, like
Oh, dude, you have no idea.
I just kind of figured so. Yeah.
Well, because I was at Chrysler for 10 years. That was my last position before I retired. I retired early.
Good for you.
Well, it wasn't a good circumstance. I'm not going into that, but I was at Chrysler twice, and then I had other positions. I
Mhm.
moved around.
Yeah.
I had Porsche and General Dynamics, and but my last job was I worked at SRT Chrysler on the Hellcat, and
Wow. Yeah.
that's a whole nother spectrum of Chrysler, which is kind of like a higher level.
Oh, those
And-
things are they're grease lightning. I mean, those
Oh,
are
I know.
wicked,
I know.
wicked machines. Yeah.
The same building that the Hellcat is in was also the Viper. And
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Like
they're
when the
kinda
Viper shut down,
interconnected.
Hellcat took over. The
Yeah.
beyond high performance.
And
Yeah.
that's when I started getting kind of weirded out because when you buy a Viper, it comes with its own mechanic. And one of my best friends was a mechanic for the Viper. And she kept asking me to go on these trips with her because they would fly the mechanic like to California
What?
for these rich people to do the repairs on the car.
Wow.
And she would invite me to go with her.
Ugh.
All expenses paid. And I'm like, no.
Thanks, but no thanks.
I already knew where that was going.
Oh man. Well, holy smokes. Just a girl. I am so glad that first of all, I'm glad you found our show. I love seeing you on
Oh,
Saturdays.
oh,
You always make suggestions on great songs, and I love you doing that. I hope you'll be around tomorrow,
Thank
but
you.
I'm so glad you called in tonight. It's
Thank you. And I hope I helped someone with getting a job.
oh man.
A good job. A really good job.
You got to play them like you have them, Seriously.
That's right. Yes, absolutely.
How wonderful to have you call in. Just a girl, thank you so much.
Thank you, love.
Don't be a stranger now.
I won't.
All right, kiddo. Be good, my friend.
Toodles.
Thanks a lot. Well, that's awesome. I believe that's the first time she has called in, and I'm awfully glad. Thank you kindly. Oh, I think I know who this is. Is this my friend the Pixie?
Yes.
How are you doing, kiddo? How's everything in your
I'm
world?
great. How are you? I still see you on the air with who you were talking to. Am I behind?
You are, yes. Well, it's about 45 seconds behind real life is how far back Foxhole is from real time. Yes.
Okay, so what's the topic for tonight? Because I didn't get on in the early stages.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to figure out my bullshit.
We're
I think I need a new computer.
we're talking about employment over the years and perhaps employers or employees that you worked with who were perhaps a little unusual, or made advances at you, or perhaps you found out one of the boss you've been working for all this time is you found out this guy's not he's not packing a full deck.
I got stories. Oh my God, I got stories, but I don't even know if I'm on air yet.
You're on the air. You are on the air.
I am?
Oh yeah.
Hi everybody. I just want to let everybody know that my computer is being a bullshit bitch. And I think I got to go ahead and use what do you call it? A thumb drive. I got to download all my files, and I'm going to completely reboot my system.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
And then re-upload all your files so you have them back again.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden I can't download pills, and I got OBS, but I can't get pills, and I can't put whatever. Anyway, so.
Tell me about the wackiest person you ever worked for. Were there some weirdos, or did you work with a fellow employee who you found out later, man, that guy's nuts?
No.
No, but consider
No,
yourself.
I've never worked with anybody that I found out was like nuts or anything like that. But I can tell you that when Donnie and I worked at Toyota Choo Crossdock back in Michigan.
How did that go? Was it a good job? Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. First off, what I went and what I started as a gland what is it called? Glad lock hand.
Oh, okay.
And what we would do is we would go out there and release the air hose from the diesel to the what do you call it? The trailer.
Okay.
They couldn't go nowhere, and we put a glad lock on it, right? That way they couldn't pull out when the forklifts were in there.
Okay.
You get it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I really, 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 really wanted to stay at this company, so on the weekends I would volunteer and I taught myself how to drive forklifts.
Well, good for you.
Because if you can't drive a forklift, you're not going to be there that long.
You're not going to move up the ladder. Yep.
So I waited on weekends, and I learned how to drive the gas lift, the electric lift. I learned how to put the battery back into the electric. Oh, God, the electric lifts are so different.
Oh, my goodness. And quiet.
Lifts, right?
They are very nice, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Here's my story, though, with the gas lift. And this is when Dottie and I first started hanging out together. One night, him and his friend, they took a gas lift and they scooped it up real, real high. And it was so funny because our chief leader, he had no fucking clue what was going on in our fucking area. We used to go out and we used to smoke. We worked second shift from 4:45 till 1:15 in the morning. Okay? So, every now and then second shift, we were great with each other. We protected everybody, everybody protects everybody there. And, so, every now and then we'd all go out and, two of us would go out and we'd take a couple hits, whatever. But anyway, so Donnie and Jason, I think his name was Jason. I can't remember. My mind is so fucked because I'm so old. But anyway, they scooped up this gas forklift where it was like zooming. Okay.
I love it.
And Donnie and I were just starting to connect. And, you know, we spend lunch together and stuff like that. But anyway, what happened was they souped it up. And he's just barreling ass down. We had like a mile and a half of the cross dock was a mile and a half of a warehouse, okay? So they come from one end all the way down to the other end. And he's just like hauling ass. All of a sudden, he sees me, and he couldn't stop.
Oh, no.
Thank God I had my seatbelt on because that motherfucker hit me, and it spun me all the way the fuck around.
Oh, wow.
And
Forklift
nobody
versus
said-
forklift?
Nobody heard anything.
Oh, man.
Everybody was like, we don't know anything.
I mean, that's seriously, that could be dangerous as all hell, you know?
Well, yeah, it could be, but if I didn't have my seatbelt on, it could have been. But I had my seatbelt on because that's how I was trained.
Good for you.
I wore my seatbelt on my gas. I wore my seatbelt on my electric, you know. And then also we had this big-ass fucking garden spider that was down by the battery exchange for the electric forklift.
Mm-hmm.
And Donnie would capture, like, moths and stuff like that, and he'd throw them in the web. Everybody would come down there, and he's like, oh, you
Feed the
guys all
spider.
ready for the feeding?
Crazy.
You know, and you'd throw them in that web, and oh, my God, it was just amazing how fast he came out. But I hate spiders. I'm so arachnophobia, it's not even funny. And a lot of that stems from my brother chasing me around with fucking daddy long legs. when I
Oh,
was
yeah.
younger.
Oh, man. Well, I have to tell you, my dear, I just now glanced at my clock, and I realized that I am like so far past the end of my show should have ended 20 minutes ago.
Oh, shit.
I think
Sorry.
I'm gonna have to shut her down, little lady. But I always appreciate your call, Purple Pixie. Always
Oh, hell yeah.
great,
love talking
great
to
to talk to
And,
you.
you know, I know how to do this shit, you know? It's like I hear beep, 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 and then I know how to get through. I'm telling you.
Hey, we love you, sister, and I'm going to share with everybody. If you are ever on Pilled Foxhole, go look for the Purple Pixie. She has a very, very, very late night music show that
Hey.
for you night owls out there, she's got what you need. Go check
Can
her
I
out.
say something real quick?
Yeah.
The thing is that I'm having computer problems,
Mm.
and I have such a great lineup, but I can't play it right now because I can't seem to download Pilled again. I don't know what the hell is
You know, Mrs. Zoe is having the same problem. They're doing something with the servers over at Pilled. I don't know if it has anything to do with what you're talking about, but
I have no idea.
Mrs. Zoe went to go watch my show the other night, and she couldn't even get on Pilled. So perhaps
I
something's up.
used to have it downloaded, and it's not there no more.
Yeah, that's exact. You took the words out of her mouth. She said the exact. She goes, it's like somebody erased it off my phone.
Yeah, and I can't get it back downloaded. So tomorrow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my flash drive that I have and delete everything off of it from when I went to college.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to download all my files, and then I'm going to reset everything on my
And
PC.
start over.
Yep.
I wish
Yep.
you the best of luck, my friend.
Well, thank you.
And thanks for calling.
Oh, well, thank you. And you know what? Have fun, fam.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Thanks, kiddo.
Bye-bye, babe.
Good night. Good night. That's our friend Purple Pixie checking in from the great Midwest. The Midwest. I really want to thank all the wonderful people who called into the show tonight. You are all absolutely wonderful. And thanks to everyone for just coming and hanging out here with your brothers. Boy, it's kind of amazing. The things that the people called in about tonight have like sparked so many more memories. I mean, I could sit here and tell you another 45 minutes worth of stories like there's no tomorrow, but you know what? I mean, it's late on the East Coast. We got to shut this thing down. I've got a music show to do tomorrow. If you don't already know about your brother Zoe's music show, I invite you to come join me for 4 to 5 hours of the best classic rock ever laid to vinyl. I host this show every Saturday morning. It starts usually around 10 Pacific time, but I've been known to start a little early, so you can find me on DLive and pilled.net. DLive, pilled.net. I invite you. Come join me because I spin the best music you've ever heard. You will love the show. You will love the show. Thanks to all the callers tonight. Thanks to the wonderful people. Boy, that pizza is coming back for a second run. I'm going to release the scratchin' over there at Pilled Foxhole. There is the scratchin'. Go and get yourself some gold pills. Thank you to the wonderful people who donated to the show tonight. Due diligence. Girl Patriot, Joyful June, Scorch, Girl Patriot, Due Diligence. Thank you. Thank you so very, very much for your support. You guys are absolutely wonderful. Now over here at DLive, these wonderful girls and boys they have been so very kind. So very kind. I am going to put a little something in the Christmas, in the treasure chest. It's like Christmas. It's like Christmas in March. Let's see. Zoe, what can you bust loose here? Let's do a little something like this. A little something like this. Put another candle on my birthday cake. All right. I just donated to that treasure chest, and I'm busting it loose right now. Here it comes, people. I am distributing the rewards over there at DLive. Coming at you, sailors. Coming at you. I see there's a great many people getting their scratchings done over there. Good for you. Hey, I won myself a gold pill even. I now have one. That's perfect. I just cashed in my gold pills yesterday, so that now I have one gold pill. That's a beautiful thing. Okay, the luckiest followers. TL Spud. Black Cat 5, well done. Jayla 17, Bad Zoot. And Grand Axel, good to see you on the list. Well done, Grand Axel. Very cool. Hey, I really hope to see all of you tomorrow at the Classic Rock Show. Look for me somewhere between 9, 10, 11-ish Pacific Coast time. You never know when I'll start, but it's going to be a day of fantastic music. And tomorrow evening, I will be joining the Texan for a late night show. So look for us yet again. You get a double dipping of Zoso tomorrow, okay? Thanks again to all you wonderful folks who called in. You are the best. My sincere thanks to the mods. You guys make the world go round. You mods are absolutely freaking wonderful. I love you. We will see you on the morrow. My friends, be good. Take care. Where is my, there they are. They have to be somewhere. There they are. Where is that moo cow? Where is she? Oh, yeah. The sound of a manatee in heat. I think she's got a thing for Val. Oh, yes. There it is. There it is, people. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. You've worked all week. You deserve it. Enjoy the weekend, everyone. Take care, all of you. See you on the morrow. Your brother Zoe, sailing away on the mystery ship. Good night, my friends. You know, Val Kimber, I think that manatee is hot for you.